My dad's wife pretended to have stage 4 cancer, guilt-tripped everyone, and made me the villain for doubting her. 2 years later, she stole his money, ruined his credit, and left him homeless. Turns out, I was right the whole time. Sorry this is long, and trigger warning for self-harm, cancer, ED, and major loss. For context, my dad, 65 million, has been married 3 times. Me, 26F, and my siblings, Leo, 23M, and Vanessa, 24F, come from his first marriage. When I was 21, he married his third wife, Francine, 65F. Over the years of their marriage until this year, I always thought Francine was strange. Little things like not allowing our stepsister, Hannah 18F, drink juice or make comments about how much she was eating when she was 12/13. Later, I found out Hannah was struggling as a teenager with self-harm and an ED, editor's note, eating disorder. Francine never showed much interest in myself, Vanessa, or Leo, which was fine with us since we were adults by the time she came into our lives. She was at birthdays, Christmas, Thanksgiving, but never really gave anything more than a joint gift with our father, would leave early from theater productions we participated in, never made it to rugby games, and only ever asked us when we were going to have children and get married, and it was all she cared about. Francine always had health problems. She always overreacted to our perfume, shampoo, or the smell of cigarettes on our clothes. My mom and grandmother, who had primary care of us, were smokers. So since they were married, me and my siblings barely ever saw my dad in case we sent Francine into some kind of allergy shock. Her allergies were different every time we see her. Corn syrup, red dye number 5, yogurt, peanuts, the list goes on. Things I'll see her eating next time I see her. Fast forward to this past year, 2022. Francine was diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer in April and was given a year to live. My siblings and I made sure we supported our distraught father, who was very upset and taking the news very hard. Later that year in December, my grandmother was also diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer. For further context, I was grandma's favorite, her first grandkid. We shared a bedroom for most of my life. She would babysit me when my mom needed a break, and I love to say that my grandma was my first love, the person I learned to love before I even understood how to love my parents. She meant so much to me, and she progressively and very quickly got sicker and weaker. I took a leave of absence from work to help my mom care for her on hospice until she passed away in early February 2023, and I took the loss very hard. I was in therapy twice a week and was almost admitted to the hospital for relapsing on self-harm behaviors. The weeks after she passed, my family and I were all trying to get our lives together without our main support system. My sister went on medication for her mental health, my brother fought to get a promotion at work, and I had turned 26 that January 2023, started mapping out my future with my long-term boyfriend, including what to do about health insurance at the end of the year when I was no longer covered by Francine's plan. Here's where I might be an asshole. I texted Francine asking if there was a date I was going to be taken off so I could cement my plans so I was covered. She sent me a 3-paragraph essay about how she had cancer, and the only time I ever texted her was because I needed something. I told her that was true because, and I quote, "Let's face it, you are as interested in me as I am in you. You never reach out when my grandmother died, knowing full well my relationship with her, or when my other grandmother passed away early 2022. You never ask me about anything in my life, don't even know I'm coming up on my graduation date for nursing school, or know how I'm doing in general. How dare you come at me when you haven't even checked yourself? Be an adult and admit we aren't even friends, let alone family. The phone works 2 ways, and if you wanted to have a relationship with me that bad, you should have tried when I was 21. In private, I told my siblings, my mother, friends, and boyfriend that I think she is lying about having cancer. A thought first stated by my mother and later my boyfriend in 2 separate conversations. She claims to be allergic to the chemo and is doing coffee enemas and juice cleanses she claims are helping her cancer. She claims she got surgery, but I see no scar. Not only that, but she was diagnosed with the same thing my grandmother was, and over a year later, Francine does not look sick, and even took a month-long trip to upstate New York in Canada with my father in August 2023. She had sent us a photo of her and my father, and she looks and is acting completely healthy. I asked my siblings honestly if they think she has cancer, and Leo agreed it's fishy, and Vanessa wouldn't answer either way, asking why would our dad lie to us. I pointed out that dad seems like he never goes to the doctor's appointments with Francine and just tells us what she says, and when asked further question he says he doesn't know or sighs and shakes his head. In recent events, Hana has apologized to me for her mother's behavior, saying that she has no idea what her mother's issues are. Francine is currently trying to get my father and Hana to move to upstate New York, where she stayed with family since their trip, because the air is healthier for her healing process. My father and Hana blatantly said they will not go. Aita, there is so much more but can't think of it all. Feel free to ask questions so I can fill any holes. Edit, I just want to say that I have no ill will towards this woman, because she married my dad. I'm up in arms about it because I feel like she's manipulating my dad. All the comments about me thinking she's an evil stepmother, and that I have an issue with her BC she married my dad, just isn't true. My parents getting a divorce was one of the best things they ever did for me. Thinking of them being together with their differences, and having heard them argue towards the end of the relationship, I would not have benefited as a child if they had stayed together. I always liked my mom's boyfriends, except one guy that hurt her feelings pretty bad, and I loved my dad's second wife. I never ever minded that my parents dated and saw other people. That being said, my only problem with Francine is I believe she is manipulating all of us, that maybe she's sick in her head. I made this post more to make sure that I wasn't fully insane, and that her behavior is sus. I don't like her not because she's married to my dad, but because her personality makes it hard to even be friendly. And none of this is about the insurance. She holds it over our heads and threatened to take myself, my siblings, and my dad off it. Additional information from OOP, an example regarding Francine's behaviors. OOP. Also want to add this story as well. Our first Thanksgiving together, Francine left in a rage BC. She made us go around the table and say what we were thankful for. My brother said that I live in a safe place, and my sister said, for my family. I said, for my friends. Francine took that as a jab at her and left saying, well, I guess I'm not welcomed here, and I guess I'm not your family because you don't want to love with me, and we were all genuinely confused. And when she came back, Vanessa told her outright she was crazy for thinking it was a jab at her and it had nothing to do with her. Francine is batshit crazy, is2g. Some of the relevant comments. Commenter 1. I don't think you're the AH for answering Francine like you did, but I would lay off accusing her, 2 other people, of lying about her lung cancer. OOP. That's fair, but please know it wasn't just my thought that came from nowhere. There are lots that don't line up, but I do hear what you're saying. Was Francine undergoing any treatments? OOP. Francine isn't undergoing any kind of treatment, and said she was allergic to chemo, so I assumed she would have left us by now. Apparently a holistic doctor told her she could cure it with enemas and a juice cleanse. I don't know. I just think a lot of stuff she's telling us doesn't line up, and I get the sense that my dad doesn't even fully know either. I'll keep you and your comments in mind while I process a lot of this. Downvoted commenter, you're 26 years old, and on top of letting Daddy and Francine pay for your cell phone and health insurance this whole time, you're only getting your own policy now because you've hit the age limit. You're something else. OOP. I am on my own phone plan. When I wasn't, my dad actually talked me into staying on it BC. I was in school, and they get a discount BC. I'm a student. And the reason why I'm on the insurance is BC it A. I can BC my daddy likes knowing I'm covered, and B, because it'll cost me 3/4 of my monthly income to get my own. I'm getting my own now because yes, the clock has striked, but can I afford it and finish school? Might be SOL. Francine holding my insurance is the only amount of support she's shown me. IDK if you know this, but it takes more than that to have a relationship with someone. Commenter 2. Follow the money. Emo. NTA to call her out if you see shady things happening with finances or really anything that can cause material impact to your father. Talk to dad about the will, any trusts, any changes to estate, etc. Otherwise, I wouldn't bother giving her that energy. OOP. I never thought about all that. I'm going to ask my sister to ask him about it since they're closer. Commenter 3. So, you are in nursing school, but I guess the chapter wasn't in the exams, so you never bothered. The combination of foods can give you an allergic reaction, or even things you've had for years can suddenly do that, due to a compromised immune system, or a system in overdrive, or a new component in the item. Another chapter you missed. Unless you have chemo, you don't necessarily look bad, even with lung cancer. I think your story is BS. She had a kid at 46 to 47? Let's pretend that is true. I guess that you also missed the chapter where women after pregnancy can be let with a lot of health issues, especially a much older woman. She gets hell from giving a joint gift with your father? That's what married couples do. From your description, I'd say she is an old lady with a compromised immune system and possibly hypochondriac, but definitely autistic. She has you and her health insurance, saving you thousands. Yet you call your mom and grandma your only support system. What the fuck do you expect a stranger, paraphrasing you, to do? She is not your friend. She is not your family. But hey, let's save tens of thousands on her back. Add to the fact that, yeah, she is not interested in you. Gosh, I wonder why. You sound like a dream stepdaughter. And yeah, she is not going to put herself into a position of having to deal with you longer than she has too. You are fucking adults and she gets hell from coming to your rugby match but not staying for the whole duration of it? YTA. Of course she can be exaggerating, of course she can be making the whole thing about herself. But even if she is pretending about the whole cancer thing, ESH, you are not innocent or nice. Even if she is dying, she is not going to accept you suddenly driving her to her doctor's appointment. She is only good enough for you when you need something, and she needs nothing from you. OOP, I'm not that far in my schooling yet. When I said I had a graduation date, it was my projected plan. Yes, she had a kid that late. Nothing like Reddit to diagnose my dad's wife with autism. What a weird thing to say. Here's the thing, she's never acted like my family. There are things in addition to theater, matches, and gifts that prove that. For example, later, when I tell her she never talks to me. Since this happened in February, I haven't spoken to her. I'm sorry, but I don't owe her anything when my dad had us be put on the insurance, a thing she threatens him with. Whenever she gets upset, she threatened to take all of us, including him, off the plan as part of his child support. He got to pay my mom less by getting us health insurance. Again, I'm not bothered she wasn't interested in me, BC. Like I said, I was uninterested in her as well. A lot of the examples I gave were just that, examples. I can give examples of myself not being interested in her either. As for the support system comment, I never said my dad isn't supportive or that Francine isn't supportive in other ways. Just uninterested in me as a person to the point where the only thing we have in common or know about each other is on an insurgents card. My grandmother was my A1 since day one. Acted as a second mother to me. That is what I meant when I said main support system. Main doesn't mean only. Francine, again, only cares if I'm having a baby and when. It's literally the only thing she asks me. Rugby, theater, school are just examples of things she never asks me about. I return energy, so I don't ask her shit either. The fact that she freaked out on me as if we had this lifelong connection made me freak TF on her the way I did. IDK, why people keep calling her my stepmother when I blatantly made the distinction. She's my dad's wife. There are a lot of step-parents in these comments that are mad at me about this post. LMAO. Update 1. ATA, for telling my dad's wife I don't care that she has cancer and thinking she's lying. 1 year update. Oh boy, it's been a long time, and I went back and read some comments on my original post, and I can give y'all the short version of what's happened in the last year. To keep it short, she lied. My dad and her had an ugly divorce that ended with my father being homeless. Francine winded up revealing that she owed over $60,000 to her ex in alimony and he was taking the house where her, my father, and sister were living. The week of Thanksgiving last year, she kicked them both out, and they were both homeless up until August of this year. Before anyone asks, no, I didn't have the means to help them. The entire thing was crazy as shit. She broke off the key in the lock to stop them from getting their things, stole a bunch of money from my dad, and bought a house in New York, destroying my dad's credit, and so many other petty and disgusting things. Yes, she's still alive. Yes, she was questioned about her cancer. She's fine. My dad realizing everything was a lie was very, very upsetting to watch. IMO, she destroyed his life. To those that said I was suck a dick. I've officially started my clinicals and hope to wind up in PD's oncology after graduation. I think about my grandmother all the time and wish she was alive to talk to her about everything. Relevant/top comments. Commenter 1. You can't just be kicked out of where you legally live. OOP. Francine's name and her ex were the ones on the papers for the house. Commenter 2. As someone who has been in the cancer world from the time I was 16, 27 at the end of the month, going into PD once is amazing. My nurses were some of the only people who kept me sane during my long stays, and I could never thank them enough. I actually named my service dog after my favorite nurse, who would come in early to snag my chart from whoever was on my night shift. LOL. That said, in regards to everything else, I am so sorry. Is there anything your father can do legally against Francine? Like, prove she prevented him from obtaining his property, and then the theft? OOP, I am genuinely very excited about it. Commenter 3. Your father chose this woman over his own kids. It's pretty clear what kind of man he is. He's getting exactly what he deserves. I have no sympathy for him. As for Francine, I hope she has the life she deserves. Is OOP's father taking his ex to the court? OOP, for what I heard, he is. Taking her to court and taking her shit, it's why she fled the state and got shit under my dad's name.